Sure it's going. Welcome back to Tuxes and Tomahawks. I am Adam Dorito, and today I have the distinct privilege of interviewing Mr. John Fabbricatore, and he is running for Congressional District 6 out here in Colorado against Jason Crow, which is one of the most critical elections in the United States going on right now. John, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Adam.
So, John, you have made quite the name for yourself over the past several weeks. You've been all over Twitter. You've been hosting, X Spaces and everything else. And talk about your background a little bit for people who don't know. I mean, you have an extensive amount of experience, but only you can really speak to that yourself. So, John, tell me your background and what motivated you to run for Congress.
Yeah, I'm a United States Air Force veteran, served in the Air Force as Air Force Security Forces, got out in the mid-'90s, became a federal agent, served as a federal agent for 26 years, most of that time, 23 years of that with Immigration Customs Enforcement. Was a supervisor for fugitive operations teams, was deputy chief of staff down at the border at Joint Task Force West, assistant field office director over intelligence, and then deputy field office director and retired as the senior executive service field office director for all of Denver and Colorado, for all of Colorado and Wyoming in 2022. And now I'm running for Congress in CD6.
I mean, that's an extensive amount of experience. And you don't see a lot of people like that, like motivated to run for Congress and continue a life of service. But especially with the illegal immigration that's going on now, we have Venezuelan gangs. I mean, I've even seen videos of MS-13 going down to fight the Venezuelan gangs. So they're like trying to outpost each other on TikTok and Instagram. And it seems like the local police aren't doing anything. There's all this misinformation coming out from Denver saying it's not an issue. Break it down first. What the hell is going on in Colorado right now with the immigration?
The problem really lies in the fact that Colorado is a sanctuary state. Now, I've fought with Governor Polis about this numerous times. Every time I say that, he comes on and says it's not, and then I post a bunch of laws that these Democrats have passed since 2013, making it a sanctuary state. So there are numerous laws that have been codified in the Colorado State Legislature that make this a sanctuary state. Because of that, the state has become a magnet for illegal immigration and criminal illegal immigration. So we have 3 operating cartels within the state of Colorado. Colorado is a nexus because of I-25 and the I-70 corridor. We're about 12 hours from El Paso, so you can shoot up I-25 on El Paso. You can smuggle humans and drugs and everything else through Colorado and then go throughout the rest of the United States along I-70. So, Colorado has become that, and because of that, we've seen these other criminal elements look at Colorado, see that it's a sanctuary state, see that the DAs and the police really are not messing with illegal immigrants and not working with ICE, and they decide that this would be a great hub of operations and a great place for them to come to, continue their criminality that they were doing in their country, and now they're going to come to the United States and do it here. So what we've seen here in Denver and Aurora especially is that you have these groups like Tren de Aragua, young guys that have come across the border. They were not vetted at the border because we don't share criminal intelligence information with Venezuela, so we really don't know who they are. The Border Patrol allows them to come in. Well, it's not the Border Patrol's fault. It's this administration's fault. It's the Biden-Harris administration allows them to come in. They come into Colorado, and they start setting up shop. These are not your regular illegal immigrant who's coming here maybe to look for a job in construction or in agriculture or something else. These guys were criminals in their country. That's what they know how to do. And now they're coming to the United States to continue their job, which is being criminals. And they're doing it pretty well because we're seeing a lot of crimes happen here in Aurora. We're seeing assaults. We're seeing murders. We're seeing apartment complexes being taken over. It's another term that the left keeps hitting me and Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky about. You get Kyle Clark coming on Channel 9 News going, it's not a takeover. Kyle, I'm not going to argue with you about the semantics in words, okay? The left's definition of a takeover is that these gangs have gone into this building, fortified it, made it into a fortress, and police can't get in. That's not what I see a takeover as. I see a takeover as they've taken away the rights of those residents. They've taken away the rights of U.S. citizens to live peaceably in their domiciles. They have prostitution in these places. They're drug smuggling and selling drugs in these places. Human smuggling is going on. All this stuff is going on in these apartment complexes. That's a takeover. That's a takeover of American values and the American way of life. And that's what we're seeing. And the left needs to stop playing games with words and admit what's going on.
And this is what I don't understand. I even tagged this on Twitter the other day and even mentioned you and Valdemar Archuleta, who's running in Congressional District 1. There are
Great guy.
yeah, it's actually one of my favorite interviews I did a couple weeks ago as well. But what I don't understand is that the disaffected, even state representatives. We have this guy like Javier Mabry or whatever, and he's
Yeah.
I'm an eviction lawyer, and I'm here to like fight for justice. And this isn't about gangs taking over. You all got played. This is about the elderly or the seniors being taken advantage of with money. I'm like, what planet are you living on? Like, you are supposed to represent the people of Colorado. That's what you claim to be serving. There is blatant evidence of human trafficking, drug use. I mean, there's videos, TikToks all over the place. Go around the regular news media like Kyle Clark, who's obviously lying and can't admit what's going on. There's so much blatant evidence of what's going on, and even like the elected representatives of the state are denying what's going on. And you're one of the only people speaking up and trying to, like, you're out there physically moving people out of their apartments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you were down there. Like, I don't understand how people can believe this disinformation campaign when there's something so incredibly dangerous going on. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were even talking about in one of your X spaces about these Venezuelan gang members from Tren de Aragua that are coming out here. So a lot of them are ex-military. They're trained. Like, these aren't just your run-of-the-mill guys shooting fentanyl and hanging out, right?
Yeah, they came. Some of them are ex-military, some of them are former security guys, and a bunch of them may have even had training from Hamas and Hezbollah. As you and I both know, Hezbollah and Hamas has had training camps in Venezuela since the 2000s.
Yep.
Maduro invited them in. There's been a lot of cross training with Venezuelans down there with those entities. And it's why our heads need to be on a swivel, man. Like we have 2A for a reason. United States citizens need to make sure that they can defend themselves. And I'm not saying to go out on the street and be a vigilante. That's not what we do. We allow law enforcement, we allow the right criminal justice organizations to handle stuff. But your self-defense and your self-protection relies with you first. And we need to make sure that we remain safe, because obviously the government in Colorado is not willing to keep you safe.
And that's a good turning point there. Why do local law enforcement who are trying to do the right thing, why do they not have the resources to fight this? Why are they not being allowed to? Why are their officers being paraded on the news to try to make it look like nothing's going on when I've literally been talking to my friends who are sheriff's off, saying, hey, you should do a ride along with us and see how bad it is. Why are even the police not being assisted in this issue in Colorado?
Because it's bullshit politics, and that's what it winds up leading to. All of us have leaders and bosses. Thankfully I don't anymore because I'm retired, but those people are still on the job. You've got a boss. You are accountable to somebody,
right?
And for me, the Aurora PD is a great organization. They have got great men and women working on the bottom level. Their regular officers, their detectives are great guys and girls, and they really want to make sure the job gets done. Where we see the disconnect is in the top echelon. So Aurora had hired Art Acevedo as their chief. He's probably one of the worst police chiefs in the United States. He's burned down more police departments than you can count. He left in January, and he left Chief Heather Morris holding the bag. I don't feel bad for her because of what she's come out and said now, but in a way, she was left a huge pile of steaming horse manure to handle when he just bailed in January. But she has continued to try to hide the fact of what's going on. So now we have a new police chief coming in. So this will be, I think, the 6th police chief that Aurora PD has had in the last 5 years. That's incredible. So, we have a new police chief coming in, and hopefully, he'll be able to straighten some stuff up. He's going to take a deep dive and really look at what's going on. But, all I'm asking for, Adam, all I want is for them to admit that we have this issue. Okay, Aurora.
It doesn't make any sense that they're not.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense of why they won't admit it. I don't get it.
Burning down. I mean, I'm not saying that Aurora. I love Aurora. I mean, I'm running for Congress in Aurora. It's one of the biggest cities in the district that I'm running in. Mm-hmm. I've raised kids here. I've owned a home in Aurora since 1998. It's important for me that we just don't disparage all of Aurora, but we also have to admit the good and the bad. There's great things about Aurora, but there's also this area in Aurora it's been a gang area. It's been a depressed area. And, Mabry comes on and he says these buildings are bad. He's right about that. there are some issues in Aurora that landlords can do better with, and things can be done better. But don't hide the fact that there's actually crime and gangs and all these other things come on. Why don't you get together and let's work on both the issues? Let's work on making better housing and work on getting rid of the criminals. Why can't we have both? Why can't there be two truths in all of this? But yes, we have some issues going on with bad landlords, and we have criminal foreign-born young men that are coming into this country to do things to us. Both those things can be true, and we can work on both things at the same time.
And this is what I admire most about you, John, is that I have talked to so many politicians in this local election cycle over the last 6 to 8 months, and it is so hard to find people that just are intelligent, smart, and they're just trying to have a common sense conversation. And whether you sit on the right side of the aisle or the left side of the aisle, whoever is going to vote for you and wants you to be elected into office, you're one of the few people that consistently talks about reaching across the aisle, working with your counterparts who may not agree with you on everything. Just like you said, Mabry, right? It's even like Stephanie Vigil and all these other so-called crazy Democrats. It's like, hey, I don't care where you are, where you come from. The point is we were elected by the people, and we need to work together to help the people that we represent. And there's so much divisive, insane politics, whether it's within the Colorado GOP itself, which you and I have seen. It's like, my favorite analogy now is like watching raccoons fighting a dumpster over a melted ice cream cone behind a Dairy Queen, right? It's like, hey guys, there's trash outside the dumpster we got to go take care of. But no, they're so focused on fighting is that we can't find common ground, and we're wasting so much time, which it breaks my heart watching. Like, you are fighting in one of the most critical congressional district areas, and you have gotten little to no help from our own party, and we both claim to be conservatives, right? And it drives me nuts because it's like, look, I know who Jason Crow is. I've met him. I hung out with him in D.C. Mr. Bronze Star Winter Ranger, jumps in Normandy every year. He's a nice guy on the outside, but then I see the policies that he supports in the state of Colorado, and it's like two different people. You're a straight shooter, John. You are exactly who you are behind the curtain, and you're exactly who you are on the mic, and I really appreciate that. And we need more congressional representatives that are like that. So let's talk about that while we still have time. Is you're running against Jason Crow. Jason Crow is, claims to be, a veteran, a war hero, an Army Ranger, and he's done all these great things, and he's been in Congress for forever, basically, in my terms, and you're running against him. What are the policies that Jason's been supporting in District 6 that you think that you can do better? And what are your policies moving forward if you're elected as a member of Congress?
I really think everyone should really look for themselves. Go on and look at Jason's voting record. A lot of times Jason will go on CNN and MSNBC and they identify him as the moderate Democrat Jason Crow. They actually say that. They add moderate to his name wherever he goes to speak. He's far from moderate. In fact, he's so far left. When you look at his voting record, he votes further left than AOC and Cori Bush.
That's impressive.
It's incredible.
That's impressive.
If you were to take Nancy Pelosi and Jason Crow, put paper over their names, cover up their names, and show their voting records, it would be the same. So it's gaslighting when these organizations say the moderate Jason Crow. They do that for a reason, because they know most people won't look at the voting record.
Correct.
They know that they won't look to see that Jason voted against the SAVE Act. They know that they won't look to see that Jason voted against the Laken Riley Act. They know that they won't go on and look that Jason voted against a bill that would have required that we deport illegal aliens that are convicted of DUIs. People,
mind blowing.
Come on, like people are not going to look to see that, and how much money Jason's raising for Ukraine and all these other things. People
we're
won't
just dumping
look
money
into
a black hole. We're just dumping billions of taxpayer dollars into a black hole, and no one's having the honest conversations like you are, John. And it's kind of the same thing with what we talked about. It's like, voters need to be educated. They need to be better voters. If anyone took you side by side with anyone, they could say, this is the most reasonable, educated person who's extremely experienced in all these things. We should definitely elect the other guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it comes up to. It makes no sense. It's like, there's no common sense in this voting. It's pure insanity. If we're trying to get Donald Trump elected, he needs the best, smartest people working for him and underneath him. We can't just keep electing yes men. We have to look at voting records. We have to be critical of the issues that are facing our state. Because if we're not, like I said, we're just going to keep on going with the raccoons and the melted ice cream count. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a mess, and they always say low IQ voters or whatever. And I don't like that term. It's stupid. Like
Hmm.
it's not that people have low IQs. It's just that they don't know how to pay attention to politics.
Agreed.
It's not that these people aren't smart. They just to them politics is just, oh, this is this guy, this is this guy, and they don't really they're not really looking and diving into what really makes the person that they voted for. What they see in Jason is they see a guy with a nice smile, well kept man who can talk well. He is a ranger. I
Hmm.
will never disparage Jason's military service as
No.
a veteran. You're a
Yeah.
veteran.
Yep.
I'm not going to attack him on his service, dude. Like he did what he did. He
Yeah, as
earned
long as
his
he's not
range.
pulling a Walton
Yeah.
line about his
No,
rank and
yeah.
actually what he did. Other than that,
Yeah,
you're good, man.
we
Yeah.
all don't like stolen valor, as
Yeah.
long as Jason hasn't,
Mm-mm.
but
Yeah.
you and I have both been in the military. We know that there are lefties in the military too,
Oh
man.
yeah, absolutely.
We are a microcosm of the rest of the United States, all of us in the military, and we've got people that are severely on the left, and we've got people severely on the right. We got people down the middle in the military. And the thing with Jason is, look, he's severely to the left, man. He wants to take your guns away. He wants to do a lot of things that Nancy Pelosi wants to do. And, if you want that kept up, if you want your 2A rights taken away, if you want your First Amendment rights tampered with, vote for Jason. If not, if you want the other things, if you want a constitutional guy, if you want a guy who's going to break it down the middle and try to work with the other side of the aisle, but not be taken advantage of, and not allow criminals to be in the United States and make this place a safer place, and John Fabbricatore is your guy. So
Yep.
really look up the two of us and make that decision based on the information that you can gather. And I just believe I'm the better candidate at that point.
I 100% agree. And like I said, I know that because I have personally met Jason. I have met him on Capitol Hill. I've talked to him. I've seen what he does. I physically have met you. I've talked to you about your policies. And if I'm putting, brass tacks to brass tacks, I'm going to pick you every single time because you're representing our values better and everything else. And, I think the only thing I've seen Jason say about this whole immigrant issue is that people are being racist. It's like,
Yeah.
We're all being racist against the guys who are running criminal gangs here in Colorado.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They love to throw that out because that's their stopgap point. So
Right.
when they can't debate the real issues, they just say that you're a racist. But immigration has no race. If these were a bunch of wild Canadians running around shooting people and doing it, I'd be advocating for us to arrest the Canadians. Right.
Just like South Park, right? Blame Canada.
Yeah,
Build
we
the wall against
should
the
still go
Great
after
Northern
Canada.
Wall.
We have better maple syrup and bacon. So heck
that's
with
right.
those Canadians.
That's right.
You
and your geese, get them out of the parks in Denver. You're fucking everything up.
They're attack geese that they send in.
They also got really mad when they started shooting the geese and we were feeding them to the homeless people and they got really mad about that. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, we're feeding homeless people. So look, it has nothing to do with race. Immigration is not a race issue. It's a legality issue. It's, are you in the United States legally or are you in the United States illegally?
Right.
If you're here legally, man, I'm all for you. If you're here legally, you're trying to get your citizenship, you're working your ass off, you're doing everything that you can do to assimilate and become a United States citizen, more props to you. I will stand up there at your naturalization ceremony. I will raise my right hand with you and I will clap for you when you get your citizenship. If you're not, or you're coming to the United States just to rape and plunder from this country, I don't want you here, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that you get removed and deported.
And I agree. I think Donald Trump is really pushing that issue right now too, and especially in states like Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, it is super critical that we secure our border and identify who wants to be an American, who wants to assimilate into our culture, welcome them with open arms if they're doing it the legal process way. But we have to protect internally what's going on. And even on the military side, we know that there's people that are coming here that are not even from South America. There are known terrorists getting through the border. There's a major issue, and especially with election securities and them flying them into cities where IDs are subject to, hey, apparently, Joe Biden's going to stop, hey, illegal immigrants can vote now, right? We can have more representatives. We can have more, mail-in ballots pushed out. And it's a super high risk security risk of what's going to go on the 2024 election year. So you've talked about immigration. You talked about your counterpart with Jason Crow and what you're trying to bring to the table. What are some other new ideas that you are trying to bring into Congress to make sure that District 6 is better represented by the policies and the experience that you bring there to the people of Colorado?
Obviously the economy is one of the biggest things. And, when I go out and I'm talking to people, everyone is, is focused on the economy, being able to afford the food that they want to eat, being able to go into a grocery store and, not have a grocery bill that's $500 for just a, bunch of basic items,
Insane.
so we really need to look at, the focus of our economy, the level of manufacturing that we have here in the U.S. and what we're doing with that, bring jobs back to the U.S. I always, when I'm talking to people, I always bring up the fact that during COVID, we had to go outside of this country to get some basic things that we needed. A lot of
Mhm.
medical supplies we did not have. We don't manufacture them here in the U.S. And we had to turn to China and
Yeah.
ask them to get certain stuff. So, I'm really big on emergency management. It's part of what I did as a leader in DHS. And in emergency management, there's a thing called redundancy. You always have to have redundancy for the things that are important in your emergency management. We don't have that right now in the US. So we need to make sure that we have people that are able to manufacture everything. Now, I'm not saying that we have mask manufacturers, and I was against the mask with COVID, but masks are useful in medical and other medical situations. And I'm not saying that we have a mask manufacturer that produces 10 billion masks, but say that they produce 1 million masks a year and we have a national emergency. We can then up the aperture of them to help them produce 1 billion masks a year, as long as they're producing 1 million masks a year in the US. And I think we need to do that with everything. I don't think that there's anything that we should need as a country that we have to go to another country for. We should build incentives to build smaller businesses and other businesses that can keep that supply chain in the US in case something bad happens. And again, it doesn't have to be a huge supply chain, but it needs to be big enough that if an emergency happens, we can broaden that. And by doing that and giving incentives to those businesses, yeah, we can allow small growth businesses to occur. We can do some veteran owned businesses. We can do a lot of things to ensure that we can continue to build manufacturing in the US and give people good paying jobs.
No, I completely agree with you. And Colorado, especially in District 6, is such a viable area to do that, especially with the aerospace
Yes.
industries, the space industries, the oil and gas refining areas that
We
border
need
your
to
areas.
we need to bring up that oil. We need to look at our energy policies. I am pro nuclear energy.
Mhm.
We are way more advanced than the 1970s. So we need to start looking at nuclear energy. The only thing I don't like, I hate the wind turbines, man. I hate the wind energy, and the reason that I do is
They're a
as
huge waste.
and it just, man, I'm a huge hunter, man. I spend a lot of my
Yep.
time up in the mountains, tracking and
Mhm.
hunting and doing a lot. I hate seeing them. I hate seeing them on the skyline, man. It just infuriates me. These thousands and thousands of almost useless windmills, and they're hardly ever turning anytime
Well,
that I'm
yeah,
out
yeah.
there.
The problem is that there's so many high winds out in Colorado, they can only turn up to 25 miles an hour. Then they go into auto
Uh,
brake. So the reason why, because the winds in Colorado are significantly higher than that most of the time,
yeah,
they're useless. Otherwise, they'll spin themselves and light themselves on fire and burn down the other half of the national forest. Right. So,
yeah.
and these are just bad policies, that were brought
Right,
into
right,
Colorado.
exactly.
They're not helping anybody. Right. I mean, yeah, there's an argument for micro grids where you can actually have solar
Sure.
panels on roofs of buildings that already exist. You have a small modular nuclear reactor that does the base load, and you got clean
Yep.
natural gas that helps fuel the vehicles and the jet
Absolutely.
and run the jet fuel. Right? There's a common sense approach to integrating green energy with conventional energy sources and nuclear to make it all work. But putting all your eggs in one basket, like for example, I think one thing that's killing the area in Aurora, even out of DIA, is that at first, years ago, you could just go buy solar panels and put them in your house, and then you can get a
Yeah.
discount on your energy. Well, the problem is Excel Energy came in and they said, nope, we're losing too much money, people selling back the energy. So we're going to build our own solar panel field out east of DIA, make it massive, and then there is no discounts on solar anymore, and then you're going to pay us back for the solar energy that has no storage, that's useless during peak hours because there's no way to use it, right? So
Yeah.
it's just bad energy
It's a
policy in the
scam.
state of
It's a
Colorado. It's
scam.
a
It's a
scam.
scam.
And
Yeah.
it's the massive housing costs, the energy costs that are going on in the state of Colorado right now. You're one of the only representatives speaking about, oh, I'm just not going to lower taxes or this. You're talking about common sense reform and common sense policies that every Coloradan can understand.
Right.
If there's like, I know you only got a few minutes left here, but if there's like one or two things that you could bring back here from your perspective as a congressional member to District 6 that no one else is talking about now? What are some, like, one or two of those ideas that you would bring in if you are elected into congressional District 6?
Well, I mean, I think we're doing a really good job with the space industry here in Colorado, and I would continue to try to advocate for that. I mean, I think we have the structure here. I think we have the space, and I think we have the ability and the type of people here in Colorado that we can continue to build on. Kind of that futuristic network of where are we going to go with space travel, space exploration, and all these other things. And I would like to make sure if I get into Congress that Colorado continues to be a leader in that area, and that we continue to focus on building up the job base in this state in an advanced way. Not just, I mean, agriculture is highly important here, and we need to make sure agriculture stays in Colorado, and we need to make sure that our farms are profitable and we're doing the right things for our farmers. But on top of that, and keeping our farm structure strong and viable, we also need to look toward the future and what those jobs are going to be for our kids 50 years down the line. We need to start bringing those jobs into Colorado so that we are advanced enough to move forward over a 25, 50, 100-year period, that we will continue to see growth here. We can't look at bottom rung jobs. We have to start bringing things into Colorado that are going to advance through the generations.
I agree, and I think one thing that adds to that, I think that would be really critical to work with in your congressional district, is water rights and bringing more water into Colorado, because that is a major threat right now. As a water guy, is the Western Slope water supply to the Eastern Plains and out here on the Front Range, and we're having a lot of people move into the great state of Colorado, and we're actually running out of resources because there's so much government red tape on diverting that water and building more reservoirs and making sure the agricultural communities and all of our communities can have safe drinking water and agricultural water too. And that's something I'm really excited to see you work with when you're in Congress, and you can start working with these people. So John, I know you don't have a lot of time. You're a really busy guy, and I appreciate all your time.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do like 5 more minutes, if you've got a couple of questions.
No, for sure. So you're an Air Force veteran. You have worked in ICE. You have done these things for 20 years. You don't have to do this job. You don't have to run for Congress. You could retire. You could go hang out with your kids. You can go hang out with your family. And I see so many narcissistic, self-interested people want to run for political office, and it drives me nuts. They're not doing it for the people. They just do it because they think it's fun. They think it's a social club. They think they can make money off of it. And you're a very successful guy, and you've had an amazing career. What convinced you at the deepest core of your values to actually run for Congress, to be an ethical congressman?
Yeah, number one, I signed an oath that I would term limit myself after 6 years if I did win this election.
That's admirable.
So I believe in term limits. I think those who have been in Congress for longer than 6 years really start to get bought out, and then they even earlier than that if you have no values. And I'm going in there as a guy that is used to fighting and getting what I need in a struggle. So I retired in 2022, and I really did think I was just going to hunt and fish and kind of enjoy the rest of my life and not think about law enforcement and definitely not think about politics. But after being home for just a few days, man, I just looked at myself in a mirror and I said, man, this country still needs you to work your ass off, man. Like you can't be 50 years old, retired and saying, oh, the hell with everything that's going on. I still have a younger daughter. My son, who is much older, just had a baby, so now I'm a grandfather. It's now I have to look toward my future and my grandchildren's future. So, I said, I don't agree with what's going on in Congress. I think most of the Congress people that are up there, just like you said, are just bought out. They're not doing the right thing by us. There needs to be somebody that can go up to Congress right now, start stacking bodies, I probably use a different term, but I want to open
I'll stack
up the
bodies
books.
with you in Congress. Yeah, it's fine.
I want to open up the books. I want to show people exactly what's going on, where their money is being spent. I want to show them, like, this is where your taxpayer dollars are going. This is where it's being wasted. This is the fraud in the government. This is what's going on. I think that's the best thing I can do as a freshman congressman, is go in there and say, no, enough of this crap. I'm not signing this bill. I'm not doing this until you start saving the taxpayer some money, until you stop stealing from us and fleecing the taxpayer. this isn't what we're getting. A lot of people don't, especially in politics, don't want to hear me say that because
No, they don't.
they love the table that they're sitting at and the kickbacks that they're getting. But that's not what John Fabbricatore wants, and I don't think that's what most of us Americans want.
No, I agree. I call this the new founding fathers, right? You're willing to sacrifice your life, your land, your family, your freedom, and everything in order to preserve the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And you are literally one of the very few people that talks about these points versus like, we're going to talk about freedom and democracy and saving. Shut up. You live in a constitutional republic. We don't live in a democracy. Like, you know what I mean? But they don't even understand their own country and how it works, right? And it is extremely admirable that, one, you do believe in term limits, and you are going to term limit yourself to 6 years. You're going to go in there and you're going to actually do what Elon Musk wants to do basically under Trump, is start cutting the government fat, giving the money back to the taxpayer, making it more beneficial for us as Americans. And I think that's so admirable, and this is why I fully support you in everything that you're doing. So where can people find you to support you? How can they help John Fabbricatore get elected to Colorado Congressional District 6 to beat Jason Crow?
Yeah, number one, please go to my campaign website. Just a few dollars helps me out. I'm still trying to buy some ad space, get some ads revenue so that I can get on some radio and TV stuff. So you can go to johnfab4congress.com. That's JOHNFABB, the first 4 letters of my last name, the number 4, and then Congress. So John Fab for Congress, or if you want to write it all out, it's John Fabbricatore for Congress, FOR Congress. And you can go there. You can look up a little bit more about my background, see some of the stuff I'm doing. You can also follow me on X. And on X, I'm at John, the letter E, then underscore FABB. I put a lot of stuff on X. I'm constantly fighting with a bunch of dummies out there, but
Yeah,
I gotta do what I gotta do. I'm one of those guys. I'm always punching back, dude. And I a lot of people.
I mean, you are an MMA fighter, so it's expected of you, John.
I'm a former MMA guy. I had 8 MMA fights, over like 32 boxing matches, but I'm 52 years old now. All I do is I do train, but I ain't fighting anymore. But I am that guy that punches back. A lot of consultants tell me that I shouldn't do that. I should be. But look, I'm tired of giving up. I'm tired of Republicans giving up. I'm tired of Republicans not fighting back. That's not the party that we were. And I'm gonna punch back. And if you say stupid shit, I'm gonna call you out on it. So it has to be that way.
No, that's great. And I really appreciate the friendship we developed over the last couple months and trying to help you out and going to these meetings and not only trying to save this country, but trying to save our own state, and then and even below that, trying to save our own party. I mean, whatever it takes, man. We need ethical, moral people to be in office. And I think you're one of those moral and ethical conservatives, and we need you as bad as anybody else that's running for those seats. So
thanks, Adam. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No, and thank you for your time, John. And like I said, go out there, support, John, find him on X, get him on his website, throw him as much money as you can, like strippers down at the Diamond Cabaret in here in Denver. All right, let's make it rain for John. All right, thanks again, John. Right. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Adam. Have a good day. Bye.
You too.